Automating is very important, and actually it just takes the stress off of you. That reminds me kind of a story of meeting with a client that we sat together, and they're like, Zach, I keep getting these late payments. And of course, if you make a payment late, a lot of times there's a fee on there, varying fees, sometimes $5, $10, sometimes like $50 nowadays.
It can add up quick.
Get very expensive. And they came and said, well, how do I solve this? And I said, I know the answer here. Let's put a budget together and let's automate.
Right.
Let's automate what's important to you. And then that way it's just out of your brain at that point. It just rolls on its own.
Great add-on when you think about budgeting and sticking with it, the notion of then trying to automate some payments, automate not just payments but also savings as well, because that will certainly help to do that. And then one of the things that you may want to even put in that automate category is setting aside money for an emergency fund. Pretty important when it comes to making sure that those emergency funds are established for those emergencies.
Yeah, absolutely. Very important. There's actually a statistic that we had found from Bankrate, a report from Bankrate, and this is just makes my stomach turn a little bit. I just feel worried when I read this stat that most Americans, 59% of Americans, cannot afford a $1,000 emergency in today's America.
Yeah, no, that is some troubling statistic. The other part of that, and we talked about that, I think on a prior show as well, is but yet 37% of Americans have experienced that or experience that on a regular annual basis. So pretty important to get that emergency savings squared away. You mentioned this earlier, Zach. The notion of automating these payments to help improve your credit. Make sure that you're building credit correctly. I think far too often people go into debt, and then that can be very quickly a slippery slope. Debt by itself isn't necessarily a awful, but you've got to understand the difference between using it responsibly and using it irresponsibly.
Yeah, and it's a very fine line.
Right.
It takes a lot of, again, with the budgeting itself, there's a lot of self-discipline that comes in play.
No, absolutely.